Welcome back to Synchronicity Talk Radio for your mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Marie Bernard, and today we are talking with Cindy Lou. She is the author of The 4-Man Plan, A Romantic Science, and you can find her online at the4manplan.com if you want to check out more information about the book. And if you want to get on the air, I have a feeling maybe some people from Cindy Lou's Facebook group might be listening right now, and if you have a pressing question that you want to ask and you don't mind sharing with the airwaves, give us a call, 604-822-2487. That's 604-822-2487, and I will put you on the air and you can ask Cindy your question. Welcome back to the show, Cindy. Hi. So let's talk about now, the 4-Man Plan is not just about finding a husband, because I frankly, if all I was looking for was a husband, I could have had one a long time ago.
Sure.
But we're looking for, number one, a good man who's going to treat us well, and someone who we feel our best around, who when we're with him, he's not draining us, he's not making us ill mentally and emotionally, but someone who is going to support our purpose and who we can support as well.
Absolutely.
So how is the 4-Man Plan and dating multiple men different than what so many of us do? I know I made a little YouTube video about this yesterday, how a lot of people, before they sign up for the 4-Man Plan, they go for the hormones, they go for the guys that get them hot but really tend to treat them like crap. So how is the 4-Man Plan different?
Well, I think what has been lacking in our culture is any sort of education as to how to select a mate or how to date. There was a time not that long ago where mates were selected for us, so we didn't have to do that. And then we sort of broke free into this, free love and feminism and everything that has left us a bit adrift, right? So now I can't remember your original question.
We're talking about the difference between regular dating of psycho hotties.
One of the basic tenets of the 4-Man Plan is that you have to, there's room for you to have a man or two that you're quote-unquote type in there. And I invite women to do that, because then they can be in direct comparison to the type of man I encourage women to date, which is a man that qualifies as three things, which is honest, loving, and willing. Honest just being somebody who's very comfortable expressing the truth, and that is not even caught up in his own lies, right? Somebody who's loving means that they can express affection and be a loving person. And the third is willingness, which is just that curiosity, that wanting to learn, wanting to improve themselves, as everybody that puts themselves on a spiritual path is looking to do. So by including in your graph men that you know are honest, loving, and willing, because they've never shown you any other side to themselves, but might not be your type, right? Because what we consider to be our type, we're not exactly sure where that's linked in. We don't know if it's because it's a daddy thing we're trying to solve, or just a chemistry issue, or hormonal thing, baby making thing. A lot of times we're incredibly attracted to men simply because we would make a strong offspring with them. So by including men that are honest, loving, and willing, and seeing if you can even attract that, you can see for yourself where your vibrational level is of what you're attracting. And then at some point on the plan, so for some girls it takes them a few weeks, and others it takes them a few months, every man in their plan is at least honest, loving, and willing. And at that point you're looking for someone that is a match, someone that you're really excited about, somebody that shares your values and your lifestyle ideas and that sort of thing. So you can then select from that pool of honest, loving, and willing men. And the only way that you can attract an entire pool of honest, loving, and willing men is to surrender to being that way yourself all the time.
Beautifully said. And I think I want to share, I've shared so much about my dating in the last year. I started, in like January, February of last year, I started dating, and now it's last Valentine's Day. I had a date with a 24-year-old guy who I had to remind while he was texting during our dinner that if he wanted to be alone with whoever he was texting with, I could easily go and find something else to do. And now I have an amazing, loving boyfriend who is fantastic, and I'm not allowed to talk too much about him because he's a little bit private. But I mean, what a year it's been, and I've really learned so much about myself through all the different types of men that I've dated, because it started out as an experiment because I had spent so much time being single. Like, I was living with an ex and we were best friends, and so it was kind of like we were an old married couple. And so the idea of going out there and dating, frankly, was kind of terrifying. So I started just dating. I started just kind of going out with whoever didn't scare the hell out of me. And it just kind of went from there. And I slowly started to learn what I wanted, what I needed. I noticed sort of what I was attracting, and had an opportunity to spend more time sorting out some of my many issues that came up. I mean, how was it for you when you were looking for your 3 3/4, is it?
3, whatever, not quite 4. Well, I think you had the same sort of realization that I had, that so many women had, which is that the current way of going about things just isn't working, isn't producing the love relationship or experience that we want to have in our lives. So, you know what I love about Valentine's Day, and I do want to touch on that a little bit, is that it's sort of like New Year's for love. You know, I think each holiday has its own great value in that it's just going to push a certain button and have you look at something in a new way, and it's just a little demarcation. So I like to look at Valentine's Day as just a moment to assess where you are, and perhaps it's a turning point. You know, perhaps you can sit down and say, like, you know what, I am rudderless in my dating life. And that was where I became, it's like, why is everything a disaster? Everything ends in heartache and failure. Partly just because it was so aimless. You know, so what I really wanted to do was invite a structure in that I could push against. You know, that's all structures are really for, is they provide us with something to cause resistance. And when you feel that inner resistance, that's when you really get to look at where you are. You know, so I want single women to really embrace Valentine's Day as an opportunity to feel that resistance and see where they are and set themselves on a new path. Because that's what I did. I decided I'm just going to change everything about what I do. There's this great episode of Seinfeld where Jerry and George decide that George's life is such a disaster that in order to improve things, he would have to do the opposite of everything he would normally do.
Yeah, I saw that one. It did.
That was my starting point. My starting point is that the guy that I would normally say no to, I'm going to say yes to him. You know, I'm going to invite this change into my life and reconsider all of my built-in programming as being completely flawed. You know, that was the first part of the theory. It's like, perhaps everything I'm doing is flawed in some way based on some historical programming or something that I've saw in a fairy tale that I'm latched onto, or something I watched on Sex and the City that I'm hooked into. You know, I just wanted to see what was guiding me.
So, Cindy, I want to clarify, though, with the healthy, loving, willing, healthy, honest, healthy and honest, honest, willing, loving. So you said that you were sort of doing the opposite and you were going out with guys you wouldn't normally go out with. But now, is there, because you don't necessarily know if a guy who just asks you out online or at a coffee shop or whatever, you don't know if he's honest, willing, and loving right off the bat. So how do you determine and what, I mean, do you just go out with any old person on the street? How do you determine that?
Well, I think, you know, we have our intuition and we have our instincts, and what what I tell women is like, just set that into your radar, that what you're looking to attract is honest, loving, and willing, just as a place to start. And if you see any red flags to the contrary, right, then it's time to think like, okay, maybe this guy isn't honest. Like if you observe him, lying on the phone to someone else when he's with you about where he is, that's a red flag.
Oh, yeah.
Charming and flattering at the time, right? That's like, okay, he's being dishonest to that person on the phone, maybe to my benefit, right, but it's still dishonest. So it's just a way to sort of set your intention of this is what I'm looking for. Then as you go online and you're in person, just yes, I do encourage women to say yes to many more dates and invitations than they normally would. But the flip side of that is that if anyone gives you that icky feeling, that feeling of diminishment of yourself, or just something isn't right there, to listen to that and not ignore that sensation, but also not dismiss guys you think are too sweet or friend material or not your type.
Well, I have to say, the friend material guys, I mean, those are really the guys, because guys can grow on you.
Mm-hmm.
And those friend guys, what was it, like 16 Candles, or the movie with Molly Ringwald and Ducky, and he was just so adorable, and like you want a guy like that who's gonna be there for you, and then you can slowly see if something develops. I mean, ideally that is one of the types of guys that would be better for you than just the guy who's gonna make good babies, right?
Ultimately, yeah, I think that a lot of women overlook the good guy. I think partly out of a little bit of fear that we would hurt them.
Yes.
This guy is so sweet. I don't see a future with him, so I just want to end it now so I don't hurt him.
Oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who thinks that.
I thought that all the time. In fact, my own husband now was such a great guy that I tried to set him up with someone else because I didn't want to crush his little spirit, because I thought that I was just such a juggernaut with men. Either I would be destroyed or I would destroy. I didn't really know how else to function. And I didn't want to throw him to the wolves like that, So I wanted to protect him, but that's not my job. That's not really any of our jobs to protect anybody else when we're dating, as long as we're being honest, loving, and willing. There are so many guys now that are wonderful husband, boyfriend material that are just absolutely gun shy because they see these complete jerks getting all the women, so they've holed themselves up and they're not putting themselves out there. And so we almost have to coax these guys back into the game because they really are the ones that we're looking for. And when girls say, like, I can't find any guys, I know that there are just millions of guys, screaming like, I'm right here, nobody's looking at me.
Aww.
Angels. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that I went through this process of exploring this man, my husband, who initially was a client of mine. I'm an energy healer and a channeler, and so he came to me as a client initially after we first met, and I worked with him for 4 or 5 months. All the while he was observing me doing the plan. He'd see, dates come and go. He had lunch with my 2 1/4 one day, and when I finally included him in the plan, it took a long time for him to sort of overtake everyone else, but in direct comparison, I realized, like, he's the one that made me feel good all the time. He never made me cry, and it seemed like that was my habit, was picking men who really knew how to make me cry. So now, 11 years later, he is just like the sexiest, most exciting, most fascinating human being. I just can't wait to lay my eyes on him and hear what he's done for the day and, just share everything with him the way that I used to think it was those bad boys causing those feelings in me, but it really wasn't.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing like the little claps. Yes. so excited for you. I'm so happy for you. Okay, well, it's time for...
For me too. I mean, honestly, I tell people, the reason why I share my story in the beginning of the book is because I'm a rags to riches story. Earl and we call ourselves like love-inaires, because we are billionaires when it comes to love, and we started, both of us, with nothing. No family to look back on and say, that's how our relationship is done. That's what love looks like. We had no idea. So to get to where we are, we celebrate it every day.
Oh, I just love it. Oh, I'm getting all fluttery inside. Yay.
Good, you're not jaded.
No. Okay, well, it's time for a break, so we'll be back with more synchronicity in a moment. Right now, we are speaking with Cindy Lou. She is the author of The 4-Man Plan, A Romantic Science. I'm Marie Bernard, the host of Synchronicity, talk radio for your mind, body, and soul. This is CITR 101.9 FM in Vancouver. And if you want to get on the air and ask Cindy Lou a question, I realize this topic, it's a little bit, I'm an oversharer, so I have no problem talking too much about my love life, probably more so than my partner would be comfortable with. But if you, you can like disguise your voice if you want to call in 604-822-2487. That's 604-822-2487. I promise we'll be gentle on you. Okay, so we'll be back with more synchronicity in a moment.